Alrighty, happy Saturday, everybody. I'm Anthony Carpino. We're going to talk about what we can expect for that winter storm as we go through the next 24 hours. We're going to be having a good bit of snow arrive Connecticut. That is going to start tomorrow morning with heavy snow possible by tomorrow afternoon. And yeah, even a decent amount of snow, over a foot for, I think, many locations across the state. As always, if you have any questions about the forecast, make sure to comment below and I'll be able to answer those questions for you. Let's get into it. What we're going to be talking about going through the next 12, 24 hours there. So heavy snowfall rates going to be possible for us by tomorrow afternoon, especially as we move past about 2 and even 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, there will be just a little bit of sleet by tomorrow evening for portions of the Connecticut shoreline. It's not going to impact snow totals all that much for us. We have changed it just a little bit, so stay tuned to the forecast map in just a little bit. But I want to walk through you guys the timing that we're expecting everything to start. So I think for areas for southwestern Connecticut, closer to about 8 o'clock in the morning. As you get closer to Hartford, that time stretches closer to about 9 or 10 a.m. Then in northeastern Connecticut, the snow fills in last for you guys just before midday. And then we'll notice that snow really start to pick up as we move through the afternoon. So timing wise, where is everything more or less right now? Well, just off to our west. So we go into places like Texas, going to Oklahoma, portions of Arkansas, Tennessee. They're actually seeing a good bit of ice right now, freezing rain, sleet, ice, a mix of everything with just plain old rainfall along the Gulf Shore, but a wide-reaching system with winter storm warnings that will be in effect from essentially Texas all the way up, stretching through Maine. So from one border all the way up to the next, from Mexico all the way to Canada. So a wide-reaching storm with wide-reaching impacts as well. So this treks closer and closer to New England as we head through tonight. And then by tomorrow morning, it's on our doorstep between about 6 a.m. You can see nothing on the screen just yet. It's closer to about 7, 8 o'clock where those snow showers begin in far southwestern Connecticut and then stream in for almost everyone by about 10 o'clock through midday. This is 3 p.m. Those are dark shadings of blue on the screen. So that indicates where we're going to have more moderate snow showers or even heavier snow showers coming down at times. And then we'll start to notice the snow. Well, the snow is going to continue through the night, but the snowfall rates should start to come back down as we move past dinner time and then going through the latter half of the night and into the overnight period. Notice by about 8, 9 o'clock, we're starting to see some of that sleet form along the Connecticut shoreline. So a good bit of snow is actually going to already be on the ground before that sleet arrives. And what the sleet is really going to do for you guys is just kind of compact things down a little bit. So yes, our snow totals are slightly lower for you guys, but it's really just because of that compaction there. So we'll notice things just not quite as fluffy by the time all of this is over for you guys along the Connecticut shoreline. But you're still expecting widespread impacts, especially travel impacts. The roads are definitely going to be slippery. They're going to be a mess at times as crews are going to be busy trying to keep up with that snow that's coming down. Then as we get closer to midnight into early Monday morning, we should notice the snow start to taper off and then just on and off lighter snow showers for us going through Monday morning and on and off snow showers not to be ruled out Monday afternoon as well. So still some periods of snow on Monday, but definitely not as heavy and not as consistent. So on and off snow showers are going to be possible for us as we go through the day on Monday. And then you'll see everything slowly start to come to an end as we head through Monday night. And then by the time we get to Tuesday, we're drying things out, but we'll stay on the colder side for portions of Tuesday. Snowfall rates. So like I was just talking about, when are we expecting the heaviest snowfall to arrive? Well, that is going to be more or less around 2 p.m. and then stretching through about 6, 7 o'clock at night. And then after that, we'll start to notice the heavier of those snowfall rates start to decrease. But rates anywhere from between 1 to 2 and possibly up to 3 inches per hour, not out of the question for. So we'll get a good chunk of the snow to fall Sunday afternoon. It'll come down pretty good and then slowly tapering off Sunday night and then into portions of Monday morning. So, of course, how much snowfall are we talking about? 12 to 18 inches, so a good foot to a foot and a half for most of Connecticut. We did taper that back along the 95 corridor, mainly because of that sleet that could kind of compact things down a little bit there. But overall, still expecting widespread impacts, especially for travel throughout the day tomorrow, especially tomorrow afternoon. There's a big football game tomorrow. I know folks are going to be going to either their friend's house, the family's house, driving around tomorrow afternoon. So you're really going to want to make sure you get there early, or maybe you're just going to have plans to stay over into portions of Monday morning there. It's just going to be really tricky out on the roadways, and trying to drive back after watching the game. While the snowfall rates will start to come down, we're still expecting the roads to be a mess all the way through Sunday night. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you do have plans to be out and you're watching the game, just kind of keep that in mind throughout the day tomorrow. Temperatures are going to be very important for us, and they're going to stay cold as we head through tonight as well. So single-digit temperatures all the way through tomorrow morning. The clock there starting at 6 a.m., temperatures hovering right around 9-10 degrees or so. Now, we warm up a little bit by the afternoon, 16 degrees or so. Still pretty cold, and definitely cold enough to snow. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, Anthony, you just mentioned sleet. We're going to be well below freezing. So why are we seeing sleet here? Well, the problem isn't our ground temperatures. That is definitely going to be cold enough to snow. The problem is going to be some of those temperatures higher up into the atmosphere, so higher up into the column. A lot of cold air at the surface, but there is going to be just a tiny nose of warm air that's going to try to move into southern Connecticut. And it doesn't take a lot of warm air to change what type of precipitation we see. So the snow is going to fall from the clouds. It's going to encounter just that little bit of warm air, and that's where the snowflake will actually briefly melt, and then it falls through that cold layer. That's going to be a good chunk near the ground. So now that slushy raindrop snow mix is going to refreeze, and now we end up getting sleet. So that's where that warm air can come into play. Not necessarily at the ground, where it's going to be too cold for freezing rain. It's going to be too cold for plain old rain for sure. But just that little bit of warm air higher up is enough to mess it up from snow to sleet. So that's what we'll keep an eye on. That's kind of the reasoning behind that too. Now, our cold temperatures will have another role to play, and this is going to be leading into the fluff factor for us. So when we have temperatures when it's snowing out that are between 28 degrees to 35 degrees or so, that's more of your heavy wet snow. So our snowfall ratios, rather, they're actually going to be a little bit lower. So an 8-to-1 versus our typical 10-to-1, which means if we get a liquid form, if you were to melt everything down, 1 inch of water would essentially mean 10 inches of snow. So a 10-to-1 ratio for us. When we get cold conditions, that ratio can actually be stretched. Is it 12-to-1? Is it 15-to-1? And that larger ratio, 15-to-1, would essentially mean we're squeezing more out of the atmosphere. We're able to work with an inch of water more than if those temperatures were warmer. And of course, like you just saw, our temperatures are expected to be cold throughout the day. So that definitely could lead to that fluff factor. And that's where, especially for communities in northern Connecticut that definitely stay cold, not only at the ground, but all the way up through the atmosphere, I think have the better chance at really getting in on that fluff factor. So closer to that 18 inches of snow. And some of the model data still points to a few isolated locations in a few spots just to the north of Connecticut that may actually get more than 18 inches of snow. So for us, we're still going with the 12 to 18 inch, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw snow reports maybe just to our north a little bit more than that. So something that we'll keep an eye on, but that fluff factor can really add to those snow totals for us. So that's something that we'll definitely be watching. Travel times for Sunday morning. If you still have a few errands that you have to run, I would get most of that done before 8 or 9 a.m. So you're going to have to wake up early if you want to kind of get out and maybe you're doing some last minute grocery shopping or getting some things together. Try to get that done earlier versus later, because by the afternoon, the roads are likely going to be a mess for us, especially as we move past about 3 o'clock and then just continue to stay a bit of a mess there through the evening. I know the crews are going to be hard at work. We got a lot of crews out there that are going to be keeping the roads clean, but especially during the afternoon and to the early evening, that is where we will just see a lot of snow coming down, and the crews are going to have a little bit of a hard time trying to keep up with some of that. So that's what we're going to keep an eye on there. Let me pause here. I know I got a bunch of questions off to the side. Let me see if I can answer some of those for you, and then we'll continue talking about our conditions that we're seeing out there right now. So question here, Sherry, hello, is it going to be really windy? No, so that is some good news for us. Yes, we'll have a little bit of a breeze, but really not expected to have to worry about the wind all that much. So if we're wondering about, okay, wind, snow, power outages, I think our power outage threat tomorrow is going to be limited, which is great news, because not only do we have to deal with the snow, but definitely some cold conditions. So I don't think we'll have to worry about the wind and the wind leading to power outages. So great question, Sherry. Thanks so much. Tim, another question about the wind. Yes, we don't have to worry about it all that much there. Matthew wants to know Tuesday morning commute. I think by Tuesday we're going to be, we're going to be back to normal for us, but the conditions still stay quite cold for us as we go through portions of next week. We'll get to that in just a little bit there. Now, Monday's commute, if you're asking about that as well, that can definitely be a little bit tricky for us. As far as the schools are concerned, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a lot of cancellations. We're going to have a lot of snow to clean up as we go through the day on Monday, and there's still going to be on and off snow showers. So Monday morning could definitely still be a bit of a mess for us. Peggy said, hi from Torrington. Great seeing you guys on the stream. Thanks so much for watching. What's the total snowfall for Fairfield? So just a little bit less for you guys, and depending on how close to the water you guys are, Matthew, but I definitely think a solid 10 inches is definitely possible. I know your range is about 8 to 12, but a solid 10, definitely a possibility for you guys. Dennis, hello from East Hartford. Dennis, thanks so much for watching. And yeah, I see some other questions in here about the wind as well. Not having to worry about the wind, guys. So that is some good news for us. Models seem to be showing an extended period of sleet and freezing rain during the late afternoon into the overnight hours tomorrow night. So definitely sleet, especially for the shoreline. I'm curious to see, how far north that warm air can really get into Connecticut. I definitely think the shoreline will have a good chance at seeing that warm nose overhead. I don't think it's going to be a large, area of warm air. When we get a large area of warm air and a shallow area of cold air on the ground, that's where we can end up leading to an issue when we're talking about freezing rain. So I think as far as different precipitation types tomorrow, I think it's really going to be snow, primarily for, most of Connecticut. But for the shoreline, I think it's going to be mainly a sleet versus a freezing rain scenario for us. And just because we're going to have a larger area of cold air, a small area of warm air, versus the other way around when you're talking about freezing rain. So let me see if I can try to draw on the screen here for us. May not be able to do that. But either way, you can kind of see. Let me see if I can use the pointer. That always helps. See if I can do that. There we go. So with sleet, you have a large area of colder air versus a smaller area of cold air. So essentially, all of your snowflakes that form, when they go and they fall through that warmer layer in freezing rain, in a freezing rain situation, you have a long period of time where that snowflake can melt all the way through, and then a brief period where it gets cooled back down, but not enough time to refreeze, and that's what hits the ground. The ground's cold, so that raindrop freezes on contact. That's where we get freezing rain from. For sleet, it is a brief period. So as that snowflake, falls through that warm layer, it can't melt all the way. And then by the time you reach the ground, it has a large area of, it has a longer period of time where it kind of freezes right back up. And that's where we get a sleet pellet versus a snowflake versus a freezing rain. So I'm not too worried about freezing rain tomorrow, but I think we can get some of that sleet that can just kind of get in there and be a little bit annoying with that snow. And that's where we can pack things down a little bit there. But definitely still causing some impacts for us. Emily wants to know, how will Monday be like getting to work? Monday morning, I think, could be definitely tricky for us because the snow will still be coming down on and off, but it's just going to be a lot that crews have to clean up. So I think that morning commute on Monday could be a little bit tricky for us. And then by the afternoon on Monday, I think we'll be in much better shape. By Tuesday, everything will be back to normal. If school is canceled on Monday, well, they're going to be starting on time for sure on Tuesday there. How fluffy is the snow? It will definitely be a fluffy snow for sure for us because of how cold it will be. And that might actually lead to a finer bit for some of that snow as well. How is Stafford's looking for snow totals? Stafford definitely could be closer to that 18-inch mark. And because you guys are going to be staying cold for the entire atmospheric column from the clouds all the way to the ground there. And because you're going to stay so cold, that could really, you guys could really get in on some of that fluff factor there. So 18 inches definitely looks possible for you guys there in northern Connecticut. I've been watching various models and not as confident that the sleet will actually mix on the shoreline. But yeah, we've been keeping an eye. The models have been kind of going back and forth with that sleet a little bit. I'm still confident that we'll see a little bit of sleet on the shoreline. Again, enough to just kind of compact things down a little bit there. So the shoreline still expecting anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of snow. Now, if you guys end up getting a little bit less sleet, I think most locations on the shore could be closer to that foot of snow. So that's what we'll be watching for sure here for us. Enfield, kind of similar to Stafford a little bit, depending on how much the Connecticut Valley warms up a little bit, but as far as the upper air goes. But I think you guys could definitely still be closer to that 1.5 foot, Lauren. So thanks so much for the question there. Ryan meant for Monday. I'm assuming I might have missed your other question there, but I'm assuming for Monday's commute, on and off snow showers there, Ryan. So we'll end up still having a little bit of a mess there for Monday. What time will the road conditions deteriorate in Eastern Connecticut tomorrow, Terry? So Eastern Connecticut tomorrow, let's go back to Futurecast here, and I'll answer that question. So likely as we go through the early afternoon, and this is mainly statewide too. So early afternoon, I would honestly say between about 1 p.m., maybe closer to Western Connecticut, and then maybe 2 or 3 p.m. in Eastern Connecticut. But the snow is going to stick pretty quickly, guys, just because of how cold the ground is, how cold it was out there today. Our air is locked in place and it's not really going anywhere, at least at the ground. So when the snow starts to fall, I think it's going to stick pretty quickly, especially to any kind of surfaces that aren't treated. So, things like your deck and that kind of thing. But the roadways, they'll have a little bit of salt on them already. So things could melt a little bit, but just because of how cold it's been, I think things will stick pretty quickly. So the roads could deteriorate, starting around 1 or 2 o'clock, especially as those snowfall rates really start to go up for us. Franklin wants to know about Torrington. So northwestern Connecticut also still expecting, anywhere from 1 foot to 1.5 foot. Definitely a possibility for you guys. Hamden, probably closer to about 1 foot or so, maybe a little bit more than that for you guys. Joe, great question there. And Vincent wants to know, when does the heaviest snow end? So also a great question. So for those snowfall rates, this is what we're going to look at. So when we talk about heavy snowfall, 1 inch, 2 inches per hour, and then you add, your fluff factor, all that kind of stuff on there as well. And this is what we're going to take a look at. So get my pointer back here. So snowfall rates really kind of peaking there. This has it at 3 o'clock. I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe got a heavier snow band Western Connecticut at first. Maybe it's a little bit earlier. So in general, I would say it starts around 1 to 3 p.m. But to answer your question, Vincent, ending more than likely after dinner time. So I wouldn't be surprised if that heavier snow kind of continued through about 8 p.m. and then slowly started to decrease. And then we notice that big drop off as we get past about midnight or so. So going into early portions of Monday, we'll notice things really start to go down. When will the sleet hit Branford? So for you guys there along the shore, this is likely going to be, closer to dinner time. So the bulk of the state receives all snow for, the first half of the day, which includes where we find those heavier snowfall rates. So, Chrissy, we end up seeing a lot of the snowfall arrive before that sleet, and then that sleet arrives closer to dinner time or so. and then things start to get compacted just a little bit there for you guys. When will the snow coming down all the way from South Windsor? So for South Windsor, again, likely seeing that snow start closer probably to 9 or 10 a.m. for you guys there. Hello from Ledyard. I'm relieved about the wind, a little worried about the sleet/ice, but we're ready for a good old-fashioned snowstorm. And, I am also excited for a nice, good old-fashioned snowstorm. I will say the ice threat isn't quite as high, but we'll definitely have some sleet for you guys along the shore. Again, just because I think we'll have a larger pocket of cold air at the surface versus a smaller pocket of cold air, which would end up leading to freezing rain. So not quite as confident with ice, but the sleet side of this, definitely don't want to leave that out as well. Snowfall for Groton, Ashley, anywhere from 8 to 12 inches for you guys. That'll really depend on how much sleet you guys end up receiving there. So just kind of take that with a grain of salt there. We'll kind of keep an eye on those temperatures, but it's those higher up temperatures way above our head that are going to be crucial. Down at the ground, it will be cold, 100%. Is the snow leaf plowable? I like that one. So if you're trying to use the leaf blower tomorrow, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how everything kind of shakes out. If it is very, very cold throughout the entire column, like what we were showing you before, it could end up being more of that finer snow. So it might be. I think that's just going to be on a town-by-town, case-by-case kind of basis there. Matt wants to know any thunder snow for the shoreline. Probably not. I actually haven't really looked into it all that much if thunder snow is a possibility for us. I'm going to say no for this case. But there are signals that we can look at on live radar that can indicate when thunder snow could be coming. So just keep an eye on social media. I'll be on the lookout for it for sure. Do you think I can make it to a doctor's appointment at Yukon on Monday? So Lauren, that's really going to be dependent on where you're coming from. If you're down the street from Yukon, and you got to get there for 2, even though at 2 o'clock, I think the snow is going to already start to come down at a pretty good clip. So just use your better judgment there. If the roads are, pretty slicked over at that point and you're not comfortable driving in the snow, or if your car is just not that good in the snow, you might want to reschedule that. But just make sure you're kind of keeping an eye on those road conditions for sure. Kim Andrews, I've seen wind estimates as high as 35 miles per hour for New London. Are these accurate? So let's take a look at some of those wind speeds, because that's a good question there. So let me just pull this up real quick. All right. Give me 1 second. We'll load this up for us. So I'm still not expecting. We'll see what this model wants to show us here. Again, I haven't looked too much at the wind speeds. This is going 5, 10. That's midday there. So gusts between about 15 to 20 miles per hour. It starts to pick up a little bit there Sunday around 6, so potentially up to about 25 miles per hour or so, and that could really kind of kick things up a little bit. I saw another question, and it's gone through the thread here a little bit, but asking about blizzard conditions there. We would need winds much higher than this for any kind of blizzard conditions there. So Ryan, sorry, I'm also trying to answer your questions, but I'm also seeing questions off to the side too. Will we see, as Ryan says, puking snow? I think it depends on how fine that snow ends up being, but there definitely will be a period of time tomorrow afternoon. Well, it will be coming down pretty good. So yes, maybe that potential for some puking snow for tomorrow afternoon. Greg says, I've had 200 calls for this storm. A lot of people scrambling for plowing services. So for the folks that are plow truck drivers, I know, you guys are definitely going to be busy starting tomorrow afternoon and really lasting through Monday as everyone really starts to clean things up there. Simon says, what about the New Haven area? So again, about 8 to 12 inches for you guys. It's just going to be a matter of how much sleet you guys end up receiving there. Jessica what about the snow? Will it be heavy snow? And the totals for Willimantic. So Willimantic there, 12 to 18 inches of snow for you guys. And there definitely will be a period of time, again, during the afternoon that we're going to end up seeing, snowfall rates 1, 2, maybe up to 3 inches per hour. So that will definitely be some heavier snowfall for you guys. Reggie, very similar forecast for the Hartford area as well. 12 to 18 inches for you guys. Chris says you guys are going to need a vacation after this storm. I'm from New England. I'm from Connecticut. I'm used to a good snowstorm, so I'm excited for it. We haven't had a good snowstorm like this in quite some time. I believe it's over. At this point, I believe it's close to like 4 or 5 years, something like that. So I'm excited for it. This is almost going to be a mini vacation, but that's coming from the weather nerd over here. So I don't mind when we get a good bit of snow. Now, I did just try to start the snowblower today, and I did not have any luck, so I will be shoveling 12 to 18 inches of snow. So anyone else that has to shovel, I'm right there with you. Hopefully no power outages. I'm thinking the power outage threat remains at a minimum there, which is some good news for us there. Timing for the Hartford area, again, closer, probably between about 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning for you guys. Let's go back through Futurecast there, so you can see 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. It moves from southwestern Connecticut, streams through central parts of the state, and then into eastern areas of the state later on into the day. Mark wants to know, is Litchfield County getting ice or snow? Just plain snow for you guys. That hasn't changed with the forecast. The only thing that has changed from what you guys have heard maybe from yesterday or the day before is just a little bit more sleet possible along the immediate shoreline. So if you're watching the forecast yesterday, if you're watching the day before, and if you're in northern and central Connecticut, everything remains the same for you guys. And, with Litchfield County being, one of the colder spots, you guys could really tap into that fluff factor as well. From Madison, Nick, for you guys there, closer to the shoreline or at the shoreline, 8 to 12 inches for you guys. Again, we'll keep a close eye on that sleet, depending on how much that really starts to fill in there for us. Bristol, same situation as far as, places like Litchfield or Hartford or Willimantic, 12 to 18 inches for you guys. Rich says, I'm concerned about the dry slot moving through Sunday night. I was looking at the forecast soundings, and soundings are really, really cool. They take a nice vertical slice of the atmosphere for us, and they look to hold in there pretty good. They start to get some drier late Sunday night, but Rich, I'm thinking, a good bit of our snow should have already fallen at that point. So by about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, I'm only thinking, maybe another 5 inches or so after that. So I think a good chunk of the snow falls ahead of time before we start to dry things out a little bit there. What time are the first flakes? So that just depends on where you are in Connecticut, but anywhere from about 8 o'clock in the morning to about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, again, going from southwest to northeast. So kind of just depending on where you are. If you're in Fairfield County, probably closer to 8 a.m. If you're in Windham County, if you're in like Willimantic going up to Putnam, you guys are probably going to see that a little bit later on into the morning. Do you think impacts from the storm will carry into Tuesday regarding schools? No, I think if you do have school impacts on Monday, you guys are going to be back to normal by the time we get to Tuesday. And again, that is going to be because most of the snow that we're expecting from this storm will be Sunday. We'll have them on and off, light snow showers on Monday, but that will be it. If the crews are really out there and active and everyone gets everything cleaned up by Monday morning, maybe some schools only with, a 90 or 2 hour delay on Monday. So we'll kind of just have to watch that. But I'm having a feeling that most schools will probably be canceled on Monday there. But by Tuesday, you're back at it. You're back to school by Tuesday. Maybe some schools are doing a learning from home day or something like that for Monday as well. Just make sure you're keeping an eye on your school district. Any mixing expected for Wallingford? You'll probably be right on that line. Again, I'm still trying to debate how far that warm nose moves into Connecticut there. I'm fairly confident that we're going to end up seeing that along the 95 corridor. But as far as, moving past that, that's something that we'll have to watch. Gregory, how much for Waterbury? Again, 12 to 18 inches for you guys there. We've been talking about the wind a little bit. Yeah, there could be just a little bit of a breeze force, especially as this thing starts to kind of move off to our northeast by tomorrow evening. But overall impacts from wind should remain on the lower side for us, which is great news, not having to deal with as much power outage problems there. Any more snow on the horizon beyond tomorrow? No, it actually finally looks to be a little bit quiet for us there. I know we've been seeing, a couple little storms here and there. We'll get a few inches here, a few inches there. But after this storm, we're going to get a chance to, just quiet down a little bit. However, the snow that we get tomorrow will not be melting anytime soon, and that is going to be because of these just cold conditions that will kind of linger into for portion of tomorrow, beyond tomorrow. I wonder if the governor will declare a travel ban for Monday. Monday, probably not Monday. I know there was a debate if they were going to do that for tomorrow, maybe going into portions of Monday, but I think right now, at least right now, I believe that is still something that they haven't made a decision on. Dave says, my daughter is flying into Providence around 11:30 in the morning tomorrow. Would the drive from Providence to Mystic be all right? 11:30. So you guys are probably going to end up leaving probably close to like midday or so. You guys are going to be driving through some of the snow, but I think it's still relatively light for you guys. So I think you'll still be okay, but you'll definitely have the flakes flying at you guys as you're driving back from Providence there. So possibility of schools closed Monday and Tuesday or just delays Tuesday. Honestly, I think that by Tuesday, I don't think we're going to have any delays. If school is closed, if they are going to close everything down on Monday, I think they have a good chunk of time on Monday, really get everything going. So if school is closed on Monday, no delays on Tuesday there. Lori wants to know for snow in Bristol, again, about 12 to 14, the numbers are going all over the place in my head. 12 to 18 inches for Bristol. Same thing, Pamela, there for Vernon. And from Madison, Nick, again, close to about 8 to 12 inches of snow. Is the jackpot snow amounts going to be in the Boston area and extreme southern parts of Maine? So depending on, if they end up getting some ocean effect, I did see a couple graphics about that. That could be a possibility for them, maybe seeing more than 18 inches of snow. I looked at a few models that kind of hinted at that. So outside of Boston, either to the west of Boston and then areas north, that could be a possibility for them. When will the heavy snow start in Norwich? So closer to about 2 or 3 o'clock, I'm thinking, Brenda, for you guys out in Norwich. Temperatures right now in Torrington, 5 degrees. What are your thoughts on the dry slot for Sunday night, stopping that precipitation? So I don't have anything to actually show that for you guys graphic-wise, but Rich, I still think that we'll be all right as far as that dry slot is concerned. I think if that starts to form, it would be kind of late Sunday night and into early Monday. That's where we really start to see, and I'll play this kind of forward for you. That's what we'll see going through. This is 6 p.m. So for you guys there, Torrington, still seeing some moderate snow at times. Then things start to taper off. They're not breaking apart, but the snowfall rates are coming back down. We're also getting some warm air higher up. So there again is the sleet as a possibility along the 95 corridor there. And then it's after about 11 p.m. toward midnight where maybe we're trying to hint at some drier air filtering in, and we start to see that snow break apart a little bit more. Because take a look, by 2 a.m., most of the snow is essentially done, and then we're just dealing with on and off snow showers Monday morning, as well as through portions of Monday afternoon. I'm looking for temperatures in the 80s. Where can I go? South Florida. Probably you got to get probably closer to Miami, because this is just a very large system that is impacting a good majority of the country. Take a look at these snowfall estimates. From us here in the Northeast, snow stretching all the way down to the Mexican border there in West Texas. So you're gonna have to go very far south, really all the way down to South Florida if you're trying to get some 80s there, Rick. So you're gonna have to go pretty far. How high will the drifts get? I don't think we're gonna have to worry about the snow drifts all that much. Again, it just depends on for folks that might see a little bit more of a breeze there. But I mean, if you're getting 18 inches of snow, maybe you get, a 2-foot snowdrift kind of here or there. But as far as snowfall totals go, still capping it out in Connecticut at about 18 inches. But that fluff factor, that could be something that we'll have to keep an eye on there. Chris, what time should I plow? It really depends. If you don't want to have to do it twice, I would wait until Monday morning. But if you're trying to just, stay on top of things, I would do it probably starting maybe at 4 o'clock and then another one Sunday night, and then, finally clearing things up by Monday morning there. So it kind of just depends on how much work you want to do for it. How about Fairfield County, Bridgeport area? Barbara, so about 8 to 12 inches for you guys along the shore. Janice, the same thing down in New London. And Catherine, same thing in the Norwich area. And Sonia to Shelton, I believe you guys are still under that foot to about 1.5 feet of snow for you guys there. Oh, Jennifer wants to know what time will the snow start for the Middletown area. That is going to be, again, about 9-10 o'clock. So close, in line with the Hartford area, point south, close to 9 or 10 a.m. Kathy wants to know how much sleet in Bridgeport. It's always fun trying to measure how much sleet, especially on top of the snow. So just keep in mind, Kathy, that you guys are going to have a good bit of snow on the ground already, and then that sleet is going to kind of, pile up on top. So there'll be I don't want to say an icy coating on top of the snow for you, but that little bit of sleet will accumulate on top, and that will kind of compact everything down a little bit there for you guys. For folks, Bridgeport and along the shoreline there. But again, that changeover isn't going to be in the afternoon like you would think when, our temperature's warm by the afternoon. No, this is going to actually be a little bit later. So this is going to be closer to dinner time. So snow for most of the state, good majority of the day, and then that shoreline mixing has that potential close to about dinner time or so. Mystic Grot, New London, we know it'll be like 6 inches, not a big deal. Matt, I still say you guys are going to get more than 6 inches of snow. I think that you'll get some sleet, sure, later on into the day, but our temperatures are cold. They're stubbornly cold, and I think you guys definitely have a chance to get more than 6 inches there. So this is now a 2-day event. Will the snow now snow all day tomorrow and Monday? So the forecast really hasn't changed here. So we've always been mentioning snow for excuse me, guys. Sunday and then Monday. What we've been highlighting is the heaviest snow is going to be on Sunday. So on and off snow showers for Monday throughout the day. So snow coming down impact-wise, not so high on Monday, but we're just going to be cleaning things up throughout the day on Monday. When would it start around the Meriden area? Probably closer to about 9 o'clock in the morning for you guys. Again, remember, for folks that are in central, western, southwestern Connecticut, 8 to about 10 a.m. And then for folks that are essentially in eastern and northeastern Connecticut, closer to about 10, 11, midday or so. Power outage threat, that's going to remain on the lower side for us. So that is some good news there. Hebron start and end time, just like what I mentioned, they're probably closer to 10 a.m. or so for you guys to start. And then the bulk of the snow is over by about 11 p.m. for everybody. And then we'll deal with on and off snow showers early Monday morning and then into portions of Monday afternoon. Also some potential for some on and off lighter snow showers Monday there. Stacy, similar time frame for Bridgeport, probably closer to 8 or 9 a.m. though for you guys there. So is most of the snow coming down Sunday night? Most of the snow will be coming down Monday afternoon. So there's going to be this window of time, and I'll go back to this graphic here, that we're going to see the bulk of the snow, the heaviest snowfall rates here. So this is where we're going to see the most snow accumulate is likely going to end up being between, and this varies a little bit depending on where you are across the state, but I would say from 2 p.m. all the way through, I think 9 p.m. is a little bit late, so I'm going to say between 2 and 8 p.m. there across a good majority of the state. After about 8 p.m. Sunday night, I think we'll notice those snowfall rates really dropping off, and most of the snow there coming to an end, especially as we move past midnight into early Monday there. Jared, how much sleet for Cheshire? Not too much in Cheshire. I don't believe you guys will end up seeing too much. Again, we'll have to see how far north that warm nose wants to kind of push out into Connecticut there. Still really thinking for areas along the immediate shoreline. Candace wants to know about Bristol snow totals there, close to a foot to a foot and a half, so 12 to 18 inches. 90-minute delay on Monday. I don't think you'll be right about that one. Yeah, I just wouldn't be surprised, James, if there was a couple of those schools that really just sent kids out there. But yeah, I think most schools Monday will more than likely be closed. But I wouldn't be surprised. There's always that one or two schools that end up just having school anyway. Or maybe you end up doing a learning day, something like that. So keep that in mind. GFS has been showing a storm ahead of the end of January, the beginning of February, like a coastal storm. Way too far out to know anything specific for sure. The end of our 10-day forecast, we'll get to that in a sec. Totally dry. Let's get through the first storm first before we start looking ahead. Is Stratford getting more sleet than snow? Nope, you guys are definitely getting more snow than sleet, but you'll have that brief window where you can see just that transition to a little bit of sleet there. It'll be a brief window. So, it's not going to be, this much snow and that much sleet, nothing like that. But it could just be that, crunchy layer on top of the snow for you guys. Let's see. How do you think the roads will be Monday evening? Worried about the roads being slick due to the cold. So ground temperatures, Kathy, will stay below zero. Stay below freezing now all the way through next week. So our ground is staying cold. So we're really not getting a chance for melting out there. And most surfaces, I think, will be treated. But by Monday night, to get to your question, I think the roads are going to be in much better shape for those, secondary, tertiary roads. Probably still a little bit slick for sure. It could take the crews, the first half of the day to really kind of get things totally cleared out. But as far as worrying about things melting and refreezing, everything just stays frozen. I don't think we'll have a really chance for anything to freeze back, to melt and then freeze back down. Jillian, when does the storm die down? In general, after midnight into Monday morning, you can really notice there that drop in those snowfall rates there. So past 9, 10 p.m., we really start to see things really start to drop off there. Sherry says, thanks so much, Anthony. Stay warm and safe. Definitely trying to stay warm because it has been cold. It has been cold for sure. Is there going to be snow or ice or a mix? Snow for all of Connecticut, with the exception at times for the 95 corridor, Megan. And I don't think, again, we'll have to worry about ice per se. When we think of ice, we think of freezing rain, but I think we'll have that potential for some sleet for you guys. So not like necessarily a mix of rain, sleet, freezing rain, and snow. We're not going to have that situation, but there could be just a little bit of sleet that tries to mix in by the latter half of the afternoon into the evening for portions of the shoreline going through tomorrow. Is Norwich expecting over a foot? I would still put you guys at a foot at kind of the most right now, but if you end up staying warm in that higher level of the atmosphere, you have that chance to get a little bit more than a foot. But in general, I would say you guys are closer to about a foot or so. For Bridgeport, a similar situation, 8 to about 12 inches for you guys along the shoreline there. New Fairfield, so, further up to the north there, about a foot to a foot and a half possible for you guys. I just want another day off. Yeah. We'll have to see for Monday there. I think many spots will end up being closed, at least for the first part of from Monday. North Haven, still that 8 to 12 inches there. Have you heard on how this will affect Oh, I don't know. I heard that they were doing that. I'm not sure. So I don't have an answer for that question. Mansfield, Tolland County, how many inches? Tolland County in general, about a foot to a foot and a half. If you're in Stafford, maybe, closer to that 18-inch mark. If you're in Colchester, maybe closer to about a foot or so. Brookfield, 12 to 18 inches for you guys. And Stephanie, same thing for Litchfield County there. I have somewhere I have to be at 11. If I leave at 10, will I be okay? Brandon, if you're okay driving in a little bit of snow, I think you'll be fine. I would still encourage everyone to try to be done with their plans before midday or so, really before those heavy snowfall rates arrive, because that's where, the crews can be doing an excellent job and you just get those high snowfall rates and they just can't keep up with it. So in general, tomorrow, just make sure you're going to use extra caution and, of course, budget extra time if you have to be out. I would say try to stay home, enjoy the snowfall there, watch the game from home. If you're going to be going to a friend's place to watch the football game later on and you got to drive back, you better be moving at a snail's pace. That's what I'll say if you have to be out later on into the afternoon and evening. Let's see some other questions there. When will the snow sleep wrap up for Guilford? Let's go back to Futurecast because I'm going to get a lot of questions for around the state here. So snow will begin into the early morning hours of Sunday there, about 8 a.m. if you're from Danbury to Bridgeport, Fairfield County there. 8 to 9 o'clock for, Waterbury to New Haven, Middletown to Hartford, probably closer to about 9 or 10 a.m., and then 10 a.m. to about 11 a.m. for the eastern part of the state. Moderate snow picks up as we move past about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we see that continue through about dinner time. It's still snow at this point from sun up to 6 p.m. Sunday. The entire state is just seeing snowfall. We're not going to see that sleet start to mix into the state until we get after about 6 p.m. So again, when all the snowfall rates are highest before we see that transition at the shore, we're expecting a good bit of snow to fall already. So where that snow and sleet kind of sets up there along the shoreline, about dinner time through maybe 8 or 9 p.m. And then we notice things get cooler, or tries to get cooler on the backside of this system. And then we see everything turn back over to just plain old snowfall after about midnight for the Connecticut shoreline. So it will take a little bit, but we'll see that finally start to wrap up after midnight for you guys there along the schools. Some schools should be canceled by then. I think you'll end up seeing a lot of the cancellations start to come through by tomorrow. I think everyone's still kind of mulling it over right now. I think it's just a matter of how fast they can get the roads cleared off. We haven't had a good storm like this in some time, over a foot for, widespread foot of snow. So, schools might just be siding on the, side of caution there. Naugatuck, I think you guys are still going to get close to about a foot of snow there. I have work at 2 a.m. Monday morning. Should I stay over there or drive to work at that time? I'm going to be leaving work at around midnight Sunday into Monday. And I'm just kind of mentally preparing myself to kind of be dealing with the roads lay. So I would just say, if you're okay with driving in snow and you're going to be going at kind of like a snail's pace the whole time, maybe try to make arrangements to stay at work if that's possible. I know that's not necessarily ideal, but if you're not a fan of driving in the snow, I would think of other options, just so you have options, somewhere I got to be at, Brandon. Yeah. So if you leave at 9:45, 10 o'clock and you're okay with dealing with light snow, I think you'll be okay. Wants to know for Coventry, 12 to 18 inches for you guys. Also shout out to Coventry, hometown. Leslie, what about Waterbury? About a foot to a foot and a half for you guys there in Waterbury. Dustin, very similar for Hartford County. I don't think you guys are going to have to worry about sleet. So Hartford County, if you're south of Hartford, north of Hartford in Hartford County, don't think you'll have to worry about sleet. I'm thinking, primarily along the Connecticut shoreline, especially close to New Haven. So I see that New Haven question there. So a little bit of sleet for you guys. And again, the bulk of the snow we're expecting before the sleet arrives. So the sleet is going to come on top of that snow, and that could kind of compact things down just a little bit there. What about at the airport? So that depends on which airport, Betty, because we've heard that Tweed is going to be closing down tomorrow. So if you're flying out of Tweed tomorrow, hopefully you're in the know about what's going on with your flights there. Bradley might be a little bit different, but just snow for Bradley. Lowe wants to know about Manchester, about 1 foot to 1.5 foot for Manchester. And what time does this all start for the Hartford area? Amanda, probably close to 9 or 10 a.m. for the Hartford area. A little bit later for Columbia. Lynn, I think that's going to be probably closer, probably to 10 to 11 a.m. Let's see. Is this the same? This might have updated on me here. Let's see if this is some new data for us. I believe this is still the same. Got excited for a second. It is 8:40, so another run of this might have came out. So there we go, just kind of going through this again. Moderate snow, that's 3 p.m. That's the whole state. Plain old snowfall. Again, when we talk about sleet, that does not arrive until we get after 6 p.m. and then even through about 9:30 or so at night, and then everything starts to swing off to our east, going through portions of Sunday night into parts of Monday there. Let's see here. Other questions there. Megan wants to know, power outages likely? More than likely not. There will be a little bit of a wind by the afternoon there, but with a very fine, powdery snow, I don't think that will be something that will really stick to everything as far as the trees are concerned. So it's definitely sticking to the ground, but as far as the trees, the power lines, all that kind of stuff is concerned, I don't think we'll have to worry about outages there all that much. Kimberly for Plainville, close to 1 foot, 1.5 foot. Same thing, Beth for Meriden, and then Lynn, Columbia. Same thing for you guys as well. Snow totals in New Hartford, Jackson, for you guys, probably closer to that 18-inch mark for you guys, just because of how cold. I think you guys might get in on that fluff factor there as well. For Colchester, 12 to 18 for you guys there. Stamford is going to be about 8 inches to 1 foot. And then for Killingly likely end up staying just plain old snow. So you guys 12 to 18 inches. I see some other questions here about power outages. I don't think power outages, guys, going to be that big of a deal for us. Again, because this isn't going to be that heavy wet snow. It is going to be a drier, fluffy snow. So it really shouldn't weigh down all that much. And if there is a little bit of breeze, that might kind of knock things down a little bit there too. So Brian, hopefully I answered your question there, fluffy or wet snow. How will the snow be on Monday morning? Do you think it is something doable for someone that doesn't have four-wheel drive, New Britain area? So for Monday morning, and if you don't have four-wheel drive, I think the main roads will likely be good by Monday morning, but those side streets and those tertiary, those secondary roads will probably still be a bit of a mess. But if you don't have to go out, even Monday morning, I think it's just kind of wait until the afternoon sort of thing. Joyce says for Vernon, 12 to 18 inches for you guys. Same thing for Bristol. The legend for colors, we can read our town. Well, I'll go back to the map for you. There's really only two things to look at there, 12 to 18 and 8 to 12. So purple is 8 to 12 and 12 to 18 is going to be for the rest of Connecticut. They're highlighted in that pink color. So for Windsor, you guys are that 12 to 18. Billy, I'm not 100% sure on the state's plans there, but I would imagine you can definitely, I think you can check out our website, nbcconnecticut.com, if you're trying to take a look at shelters there. I want to say they have, just for the fact of how cold it's been, I want to say they've had shelters open, but also I would imagine for the snow to kind of, be a part of that there. Amston, 12 to 18 inches for you guys. Same thing for Manchester. I'll get out of this whole storm shoveling. I'll be out there shoveling too. It's going to probably take a little bit of time. I really wish I got that snowblower working. Simsbury, Amy wants to know for Simsbury, closer to about 12 to 18 inches for you guys, maybe on the higher end of that spectrum for Simsbury. Meanwhile, Groton will probably closer to 8 to 12 inches for you guys, and maybe closer to like 8 to 10 inches specifically for Groton. We'll have to see how much sleet you guys end up getting. And again, that compaction of things, I think, will be kind of the greatest thing that we'll have to keep an eye on there. How far up does that sleet line go? I'm in Wallingford. Wallingford probably on the cusp of that, but likely at this point, at least looking like it will stay just plain old snow for you guys. So we'll keep that in mind there. All right, so we've talked a lot about snowfall totals, what we're expecting for this storm. Really quickly, as we come up close to an hour now on the stream, so still about 300 folks watching. So guys, thanks so much for letting me just kind of ramble on here. So let's go outside right now to Hartford. I know I'll get a few more questions here. I'll answer those in just a second, but let's go through the rest of tonight's forecast. We noticed the clouds already starting to move in for us. The snow not too far away. That arrives tomorrow morning. Temperatures out there right now. The actual temperature in Norfolk is 1 degree. So cold air is here, and it is going to be stubborn. It is not going to be really moving all that much. There is a slight wind out there, about 5 to 15 miles per hour across the state. So this is what it feels like. It feels like minus 11 in Torrington, below zero, at below zero, Meriden to Windsor Locks, and single digits wind chill values there in eastern Connecticut. So our temperatures tonight will stay on the colder side. We're really not budging all that much by tomorrow morning, staying in the single digits to maybe near 10 for the shoreline. But again, it feels colder than that for tomorrow morning. The snow begins light between about 8 to 10 a.m. Across a good majority of the state, a little bit later than that if you're in far eastern and northeastern Connecticut. And then notice how those temperatures stay in the teens, not only during the afternoon, but even going into Sunday night. So our ground temperature is well cold enough for snow. It's just going to be along the shoreline, that higher level where we're getting a little bit of warm air trying to intrude from the south. So that's where we can briefly see things start to mix just a little bit there, going through tomorrow, late afternoon, and then into tomorrow night. Just for the shoreline, everyone else is snow. But I don't want you guys to think if you're at the shore, you're just getting sleet all day. Most of the day, you guys are getting snow. It's just that brief period of sleet possible later on Sunday evening into Sunday night. Now, behind all of this, so yeah, we got a few snow showers to deal with on Monday. We'll be cleaning up for sure. But behind this, it doesn't warm up. It stays feeling like January 4th into next week and all the way through portions of next weekend. So the snow that we get tomorrow will stay on the ground, and it is not going to be really going anywhere anytime soon. Now, I did see some other questions, asking about any big storms after this. And right now, it's quiet, nice and quiet for us for the rest of the 10-day forecast, just cold. Look at Wednesday morning, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. I think several towns around the state will end up being at or below zero for the actual temperature there. So that cold air is locked in. It is not going anywhere. 15 for the high tomorrow, 24 on Monday, which will feel better. A few snow showers left over on Monday, on and off throughout the day. Not expected to be that heavy on Monday. Heaviest of the snow on Sunday with, on and off snow showers throughout the day Monday. And then just, mix of sunshine clouds all the way through the end of next week. And then we try to warm up into the upper 20s by next weekend, but even that might be a little bit of a struggle for us. We finally get above freezing for the shoreline on Sunday. No, not tomorrow. Next Sunday. So it is going to be a stretch of cold weather for us. So that's what we can expect going through the 10 days, both inland as well as for the Connecticut shoreline. So we just made it to the hour mark. Again, thanks. We've still got about 300 folks watching along. I'll take couple more questions. and then I'm going to sign off for now and go grab some dinner, but then we'll have more on the forecast tonight at 11 o'clock. Willie wants to know, okay, so what time does the snow start for Groton, and then what time does it end? So one more time, we will go through future radar here for the entire state. So if you're watching, you're not in Groton, if you're in other places, pay attention to this map. So this has 7:30 in the morning. Okay, maybe a few flakes in, Stamford to Greenwich, not out of the question there, but more or less 8 o'clock in the morning starting tomorrow morning, light at first, and we see the snow trek through the rest of the state. So for Groton, probably closer to either 9 or 10 a.m. for you guys. So if I were to draw a line here, let's see if I can get this. So for southwestern Connecticut, this would probably be, by 8 a.m. or so for you guys here. Let's see if I can draw. Oh, that's supposed to be an 8. Maybe I don't need to draw. And then essentially if we draw that diagonal, so from Salisbury to Hartford to Groton, kind of following more or less that Route 2 corridor there, all the way back to Western Connecticut there. That's likely between 8 and 10 a.m. And then for Northeastern Connecticut, probably anywhere from 10 a.m. to about midday. Likely everything fills in by 11 a.m. or so. Let's get rid of those lines because I definitely can't draw. By 3 p.m., moderate snow across a good majority of the state. This is where we're seeing those higher snowfall rates, 1, 2, possibly 3 inches per hour. We're still all snow. This is 6 p.m. Still all snow for the entire state, including the shoreline, but it's after 6 p.m. There comes that little bit of sleet, a little bit of mixing. The rain line, where we're above freezing, that is still well to our south. So that is going to be, south shore of Long Island, maybe seeing some mixing over to plain old rainfall, but not for us here in Connecticut. Now, we start to mix in some drier air late Sunday night into early portions of Monday. We see the snow showers start to break apart a little bit. Early Monday morning, this is, past midnight, and between midnight and 6 a.m., on and off lighter snow showers. And then you can kind of see how that kind of goes, back and forth at 7 a.m., on and off snow showers possible, Monday afternoon. And then we finally start to dry things out completely as we head into Monday night. So for Monday, I think only a couple inches at the most possible. The bulk of the snow will fall on Sunday. So keep that in mind there. Let me see. I'm just trying to see if there's any other questions there. Yes, schools will be closed Monday and Tuesday. I think there's a good bet for Monday. I don't know about Tuesday. Maybe one of those things where you get a delay, but I think crews are going to have a good bit of time, even Monday night into Tuesday, to get everything all cleaned up. So I would likely think that there would be school on time for Tuesday. Probably leaning toward canceled for Monday, especially because we haven't had a storm like this in a while. So that's what we're going to keep an eye on, guys, as we go through the next 12, 24 hours there. So again, just to recap it for you guys, that snow starting in southwestern Connecticut, 8 to 10 a.m., central and eastern Connecticut after 10 a.m., and then moderate snow takes over in the afternoon. Sleet possible after dinner time for the immediate shoreline, but you guys are still expected to end up seeing anywhere the shoreline 8 to 12 inches and 12 to 18 inches for the rest of Connecticut. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that's been watching, all the comments on here. It's such a big help when you guys are asking questions, and hopefully tomorrow when we're going to have more updates throughout the entire day. We're doing special streaming shows throughout the day as well. We're also going to be doing some TV cut-ins. So we're going to keep you guys updated. Make sure if you don't have it already, download the NBC Connecticut app. You can do that on your phone and your smart TV. And you can stay updated that way. We'll have live updates both on Facebook and YouTube, where we are right now, but also on the NBC Connecticut streaming channel, which you can find on our app. App for your phone, app for your TV. So when we do updates on either, you can get alerts that way. Also, when we start getting snow and the snow is falling, if you guys could send us what you're seeing out there, all of snow reports, we'd love to see all of that throughout the day. You can send those to us on email, or if you want to just tag us on Facebook, social media, all that kind of stuff. We'd love to know what you guys are seeing out there, and send us some pictures. You can also send those pictures to us via email. Share it at nbcconnecticut.com, or anytime you tag us on a post. So if you leave a picture underneath in a comment, we can use it that way, and we'll of course give you credit for those. We'll show those on air. So any way that you guys want to send us photos, if you're able to scan that QR code, it'll take you there that way as well. There's a bunch of different ways. You can always send me a message on social media or an email as well, and I'll do my best to answer and see your photos that way. So big thanks for everyone tonight for those questions, and thanks in advance for all of those snow reports and pictures of what you guys are up to on Sunday. So thanks again, everyone, for watching the stream. We're going to have another live update on NBC Connecticut on television at 11 o'clock tonight. So make sure to tune in there. But we're really not expecting that much in the way of changes with the forecast moving forward, but we'll have more updates coming up at 11 o'clock. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If I missed your question, please shoot me a message on social media, or send me an email question as well. More than happy to answer those for you guys. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great night.